Students, today we are going to discuss about general management of poisoning. Let us understand what are the different routes by which the patient may get exposed to the various types of the poisons. The very common routes by which the patient can get exposed to the poison include inhalation, ingestion or consumption by oral route or injection. What are the different types of toxic chemical reactions which can happen or which vital organs which can get affected are majorly cardiovascular system, respiratory system, our CNS, hepatic or gastrointestinal system and our kidney, that is the renal system. Which type of the toxic chemical agents can lead to poisoning? Very commonly drugs, their overdosage, insecticides, herbicides, plant toxins, animal toxins, chemical weapons if used in war, and radioactive elements. What are the different causes of the poisoning? The medication which is supposed to be given by subcutaneous or intramuscular route accidentally is given by intravenous route. The amount of the dose entering into the circulation will increase and that will lead to the poisoning. It can also occur if the patient is taking a substance of abuse and he has taken it inadvertently without a knowledge or intention. Too much amount of that drug is injected or an addicted patient has injected too much amount of the drug, he may suffer from the poisoning. Certain plants, certain pesticides or paint products can always cause a household poisoning, or sometimes mostly in the children who have an access to certain cleaning agent, household cleansers, or there is improper storage of these items can lead to the poisoning within children. Because of sometimes mental and the visual impairment, especially in the old or geriatric patient, or sometimes because of the language barrier, difficulty in reading the labels, can lead to the ingestion of the incorrect doses of certain chemicals or the medicines and can lead to the poisoning. Even the exposure to certain toxic fumes in the home due to the burning of wood, gas, oil, or kerosene, the carbon monoxide, incomplete oxidation, which will lead to the carbon monoxide, and that may sometimes lead to the suffocation and lead to the poisoning. Now, what are the commonly observed poisoning or the drugs which causes the toxicity? This include a carbon monoxide, salicylate, acetaminophen, nicotine, alcohol, heroin, various narcotic analgesics, sedative and hypnotic drugs containing benzodiazepine derivatives or barbiturates, tricyclic antidepressants, amphetamine, and cocaine. These are the common drugs and chemicals which can lead to poisoning. Now, what are the different effects of the toxicity? The very commonly observed effect is comatose state of the patient, where they lose their airway protective reflexes and their respiratory drive control, and death occurs as a result of the obstruction of the airway by flaccid tongue or aspiration of the gastric contents into the tracheobronchial tree and or occurrence of the respiratory arrest. These are the common causes of the death due to overdose of certain narcotic drugs or sedative and hypnotics. The second type of the effect is on the cardiovascular system. There can be a fall in BP leading to the hypertension, maybe because of the depression of the cardiac contractility, or maybe because of the peripheral vascular collapse due to the blockade of the alpha adrenergic receptor blocker mediating the vascular tone, or it may be because of the cardiac arrhythmias. There can be fluctuation in the body temperature where hypothermia is very common, but there can be sometimes hyperthermia also due to the sustained muscular hyperactivity, whereas hypothermia is maybe a consequence of the hypertension, fall in the blood pressure, or dysregulation of the body temperature setting up mechanism in our body, which can lead to the muscle breakdown, myoglobinuria, renal failure, accumulation of the lactic acid, and the hyperkalemia. There can be lethal arrhythmias such as ventricular tachycardia or the fibrillation, which usually occurs due to the overdose of the cardioactive drugs like cocaine or digitalis or theophylline. Even a tricyclic antidepressant, antihistaminic and opioidal analgesic, which are cardioactive drugs, can lead to induction of the arrhythmia if the poisoning occur because of them. There can be sometimes seizures, muscular rigidity, and muscular hyperactivity may take place, and that causes the pulmonary aspiration, hypoxia, or sometimes brain damage. The drugs and which often causes the seizures include antidepressants, isoniazid, diphenhydramine, cocaine, and amphetamine type of the drug. Some other poisons can only target a specific organ system in our body, and that includes sometimes, most of the times, rather than sometimes, most of the time, lungs, where chronic ingestion of certain chemicals or the poisons can lead to the fibroid growth or pulmonary fibrosis. There may be massive hepatic necrosis due to the poisoning of acetaminophen or certain mushrooms, which lead to the hepatic encephalopathy, and death may take place within the 48 to 72 hours also. So now, what are the general principles of the management of the poison? The very important thing in the management is stabilization of the patient and simultaneously evaluation to come to the conclusion that which chemical must have caused the poisoning. The next becomes the gut decontamination, the removal of the poison from the GIT tract if it is ingested by the patient. Poison elimination by some other routes of the in the body. Antidote administration, and finally the psychiatric care. Now, when first thing what comes is the assessment, where there is a direct initial investigation towards the assessment, finding out what has exactly happened, and also finding out that is there any life-threatening situation or diseases which can get precipitated because of this poisoning, so that corrective measures can be taken. So there has to be a very systematic approach, and that is termed as a triage. What is triage is first knowing the history, entire medical history of the patient, carrying out his normal or a required physical examination, and then carrying out specific laboratory tests. Now, in the initial management, if you find that patient is in the immediate danger, then the goal of the treatment of the poisoning is to the immediate treatment and stabilization of the patient, where ABCD management is required. What is ABCD management? Airway management, breathing management, circulation management, and dextrose. Let's talk first about the airway management. The airway should be cleared of the vomitus or any other obstruction. An oral airway or a nasotracheal tract or endotracheal intubation may be necessary to maintain or protect the patient from airway obstruction. For many patients, it is sufficient to move the flaccid tongue out of the airway. Next is the breathing. Breathing should be assessed by measuring the arterial blood gases level. Sometimes mechanical ventilation may be necessary to support the patient. There are many drugs like heroin which depresses the respiratory centers, and therefore patient may require to be kept on the artificial respiration with the help of the ventilator until the drug or the toxin is completely eliminated out of the body. Next becomes the circulation. It should be assessed by continuous monitoring of his pulse rate, blood pressure, urinary output, and the evaluation of the peripheral perfusion. There are some certain toxic drugs which hamper the myocardial contractility. They cause delay in the cardiac conduction velocities, they induce arrhythmias, they induce fluid overload, and therefore they increase the workload on the heart. And therefore the heart sometimes becomes unable, or its ability to pump out the blood at a required pressure is lost. In that situation, invasive monitoring may be required, like central venous pressure determination, pulmonary artery catheters can be used, or Foley catheters with urometer can be used. And sometimes if the blood pressure is too much gone down, then drug intervention may be also required. Another important last treatment which is required, must be given in emergency situation, is dextrose. When every patient has, if that patient is having a mental altered mental activity is there, he should receive a concentrated dose of dextrose, because we know that the only nutrient on which brain can survive is a glucose. Adults are given usually 50% of the dextrose, children are given 25%. And sometimes it happens that the patient shows the symptoms of the hypoglycemia, but we are not able to differentiate whether it is because of any pathological situation or it is because of the poisoning. So in that situation, administration of the dextrose helps to stabilize the patient and then go for the investigation whether it has happened because of the poisoning or it's a consequence of any pathophysiological situation. As I have already told you that once you have stabilized the patient by using these ABCD techniques, then becomes the next line of the treatment, and that is knowing the history of the patient. The history of the patient's exposure provides a framework for managing the poisoning or the overdose. So which are the key points which need to be found out? Is identifying which type of the drug or the toxin he must have consumed or has got exposed, type of the exposure, the time and the duration of the exposure, how much dose he must have got exposed or ingested. You can find out the empty bottle containers, household products, over the counter drug. You can smell the chemicals on his body so that it will give you some clue. And first aid treatment has to be given before the arrival to the patient, and even you should know which type of the first aid treatment was given. Is patient suffering from any allergies or hypersensitivity reaction? Has he undergone any recent surgical operations, or is there any underlying disease, or are there any injuries related to the poisoning? So entire history need to be found out. Then physical examination. Check the clothing of the objects and the substances on the clothing. A quick but a thorough physical examination, which includes determination of certain vital signs like body temperature, eye, pupil size, mouth, is there any frothing, salivation, skin texture has changed, is there any change in abdominal motility, is there any nervous defects which are observing. So this is termed as a toxidrome. Toxidrome is nothing but it is a group of the sign and the symptoms associated with the overdose or exposure to a particular category of the drug. So every particular category of the drug, when there is an overdose of that particular drug, it will have certain set of the symptoms. And if you are observing those set of symptoms, it becomes easy for us to come to the conclusion. And so you have to look for any type of a toxidrome are you observing with that patient. Recognizing the presence of the toxidrome will help to identify the toxin or the drugs which the patient might have got exposed, and the crucial body system that may be involved once you have understood that which type of the poisoning might have occurred from the toxidrome. Now, what are the different vital signs which you need to check? There has to be a careful investigation of certain vital signs, fluctuations in the blood pressure, fluctuations in the pulse rate, respiration rate, breathing rate, and what are the changes in his body temperature. Like for example, if you look at the symptoms on the lungs or the adverse effects on the lung, you will find there are rapid respiration. The respiration rate has increased, breathing rate has increased, which is very typically occurring in case of the poisoning with salicylates, carbon monoxides, or those drugs which produces metabolic acidosis or cellular asphyxia. Or hypertension and bradycardia is very common with overdose of calcium channel blockers, beta blockers, clonidine, sedatives and hypnotics. Hypotension and tachycardia together are associated with tricyclic antidepressant, vasodilators and beta agonist type of a drug. Hyperthermia, that is rise in the body temperature, very common with sympathomimetic drugs, anticholinergic drugs, salicylates or drugs which induces seizures or the muscular rigidity. Hypothermia, very common with CNS depressant drugs, sedatives and hypnotics. Meiosis, which is a characteristic of poisoning due to the opioid drugs like morphine, cholinesterase inhibitors, organophosphate insecticides. Mydriasis, very common with amphetamines, cocaine, LSD, atropine, and various other anticholinergic drugs. Horizontal nystagmus, very common with alcohol, or sometimes there is a presence of both the vertical as well as horizontal nystagmus with the drugs like phencyclidine. Or mouth may show the signs of the burn, which indicates that there may be some consumption of the corrosive chemical. Cyanosis may be caused due to the hypoxemia, or it indicates the occurrence of methemoglobinemia in the body. There may be excessive sweating due to the excessive consumption of the organophosphate or nicotine consumption or sympathomimetic drug taken at a very high dose. Hyperactive bowel syndrome, motility of the GIT tract is increased. Diarrhea may take place with the help of, if there is a consumption of the iron, arsenic, theophylline, Amanita muscaria, which is a poisonous mushroom, and phalloids. Or there may be a muscular rigidity caused by certain antipsychotic drug, or serotonin syndrome is there, or by the strychnine. Nystagmus and ataxia occurs very commonly with anti-epileptic drugs like phenytoin, alcohol, or other sedative drugs if they are intoxicating. So by knowing all these toxidrome, we can come to the conclusion that which type of the drug he might have got, by which type of the drug he might have got poison. Then once you have understood, okay, this is a type of the drug which might have caused poisoning, simultaneously you can go for certain laboratory studies, which includes ABGs, that is arterial blood gases, electrolyte, osmolality test, urine analysis, complete CBC, complete blood count, electrocardiography, image finding, hepatic functioning tests. Some of them are like arterial blood gases, where hypoventilation will always lead to the increase in the carbon dioxide partial pressure and decrease in the oxygen partial pressure. And it may also be low with aspiration pneumonia or drug if drug is inducing pulmonary edema. So signs of inadequate ventilation, oxygenation include cyanosis, tachycardia, hypoventilation, intercostal muscle retraction, and sometimes altered mental status also. Electrolyte imbalance, where acute poisoning can cause imbalance in the levels of the electrolyte, including sodium, potassium, chloride, bicarbonate, magnesium, carbon dioxide, calcium, and so on. So serum level measurements are sometimes very important if you know if the poisoning has occurred because of certain drugs like lithium, aspirin, ethanol, valproic acid. So it's very important that the anion gap has to be found out, which represent the difference between unmeasured anions and cations in the blood. So anion gap is equal to total concentration of sodium, potassium minus bicarbonate and chloride ion. The normal value of the anion is usually equal to 8 to 16 milliequivalent. What is serum osmolality? It is a osmolar gap is the difference between the measured osmolality and the calculated osmolality, where the calculated osmolality is derived by using the laboratory values for major osmotically active substances. We generally include sodium, glucose, or blood urea, nitrogen. Like the anion gap, it is the simple and the most cost-effective tool for evaluating whether the patient is poisoned for certain drugs or the toxin. Here I have given the formula for determining the osmolality also, where you need the concentration of sodium, glucose, and blood urea, nitrogen. You have to simply put it into its formula and find out the level of the osmolality and find out the difference between the calculated osmolality, which is derived by using the laboratory value. Then there are various other diagnostic tools like electrocardiography, which is important when there are arrhythmias, usually caused by the tricyclic antidepressant. Sometimes radiology can also be used because many substances, they are radio opaque and therefore they can be visualized by using certain contrast enhanced computed tomographic technique like CT scan technique. For example, AV metals or some modified release tablet, capsule, aspirin, or higher concentrations of the cocaine or heroin containers. So chest radiographs can provide the evidence of the aspiration and pulmonary edema. Even the renal function test can give you a very good idea about if there is a poisoning because of the drugs which are highly nephrotoxic in the nature, or if there is a shock or there is a myoglobin urea, then you can measure blood urea nitrogen levels or the creatinine levels. Now, what is a toxicology screen? It is a laboratory analysis of our typical body fluids, certain body fluids or certain tissues. Now, which body fluids are used for this toxicological screening? Saliva, spinal fluid, hair may be analyzed, and very commonly the blood and the urine samples. Now, this toxicological screen, it has a specific test for a specific agent and drug. So that's how you can eliminate the possibilities and you can come to the final conclusion that yes, the poisoning has happened because of this drug by testing these samples. The samples also, another care has to be taken that the samples must be sent to the laboratory which is near to the patient's admission place so that the results can come quickly and the treatment can be started immediately. For example, here I have given an example of the cocaine. If the patient has poisoned himself because of the cocaine may not be traceable in the circulation, but its metabolite may be traceable in the circulation, or it can be detected in the urine for several hours even after the cocaine use. So that the test should be targeted to find out that metabolite rather than the cocaine. So now we are coming to the management. So by knowing entire history of the patient, knowing the toxidrome, having a rough idea about which type of the chemical, conducting certain laboratory tests, now becomes the important is how will you manage the patient. The management of the poison patient, the priority is that you have to minimize the absorption of the further absorption of the poison into his body. Or if it has occurred because of the exposure, you have to minimize or prevent the further exposure to the agent. The second line, the treatment. And treatment should begin with the first aid immediately at the site of the accident where the poisoning has occurred. And then you can take the patient to the hospital emergency department or which may extend up to the ICU. Once the patient has reached to the hospital, the third is the advanced general treatment. where it involves the further steps to prevent the absorption, how to enhance the drug or the poison from his body, and administration of certain antidotes, antivenins, and the antitoxins. So today we stop here, students, and in my next part 2 of the lecture, we will see actually after admitting to the hospital, what are the steps taken for the management of the poison patient. Thank you very much.